All right. Thanks, everybody. We're on season 2, episode 2 of Psychics and Psychos, and we're continuing on with this very elaborate and confusing, bizarre story of Lori Chad Daybell, right? And
Lori
no,
Vallow.
Lori Vallow Daybell.
Well, wait, let's
And
get this right. Lori, I don't remember her first husband's name. I don't remember LaJoya, I think is her second husband's name.
wow,
Lori Cox, something, LaJoya, Ryan,
Daybell.
Vallow, Daybell.
Vallow Daybell. Okay,
Yeah.
so how many times was she married?
Uh,
5?
5.
Okay, so I'm sure she'll get married a
No,
few more
is that
times in
right?
prison. Let's see. I don't know. I can't.
The
I
first
don't.
husband who was the sweetheart, the second husband about whom we know nothing. Um,
The
Joe
third
Ryan,
one she had a baby with.
Charles Vallow, Chad Daybell. Fine.
5, right.
So
Oh.
before we even start, Denise, I'm Helen. That's Denise.
Yes, Helen. Yes, the beautiful and talented Helen. And I'm
Oh,
Denise. And so we're gonna continue on. Oh God, I gotta sneeze. I feel
and
like,
before we
oh
even start, I looked up the question we had last time about Joe Ryan. What did he die of? They did do an autopsy and they did do toxicology, and it was in the court record. And I didn't have time to go look at the court record, but I Googled it really quickly, and all I found was enormous amount of debate about it on the internet. So there are suspicions. I'll tell you later why there are suspicions. Officially it was natural causes, but keep in mind that when
the body count.
toxicology is done, it's done for the obvious suspects. It's not done for the esoteric, the strange, the unusual.
Right.
So keep that in mind, and we'll move forward.
All right.
So we're going to talk about Chad Daybell.
Okay.
Schlub. I mean, you shouldn't make fun of people, but he
Yeah,
was
I
a
know. I mean,
schlub.
really. I mean, no offense, but I mean,
If you watch him in court
combination.
hearings, the contrast between the two of them is fascinating because she's on stage. She's center stage. The
Right.
spotlight is on her. It's all about Lori. He is like a zombie. And I use that word intentionally. He sits with no emotion, no body movement at all. I mean, you could never analyze his physical movements because he just sits like he's frozen in place. Anyway, born August 11th, 1968 in
68.
Provo.
Monkey.
Pardon?
Right. He's a monkey.
A
That's
monkey?
that's a Chinese astrology. He's a monkey. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know what you were talking about.
Yeah.
We're born in Provo, a Mormon background. His ancestors were from England, and his particular family dynamic was extremely patriarchal. His sister-in-law later said, I listened to hours of her talking. Her name was Heather, married to his brother Matt. And she said that his entire family, all of his siblings, how they interacted with their wives, they were very patriarchal. Everything is always the wives' faults. They would get together and in a large family group, and all the wives would be on the hot seat for whatever the complaint was. His father heard voices
Wow.
that protected him. She says that the men in the family were extremely disrespectful to the mother of Chad and to the daughters in the family. So his mother and his siblings were girls, and then it moved on to the wives. He wasn't. He did not like outspoken women, and he particularly did not like his brother's wife Heather, because she calls it as she sees it. She's an interesting person. He was obsessed with death from childhood. His friend in the 3rd grade, his best friend, was crushed in a cave collapse. He was digging a cave and it collapsed on him. And he never was the same. He was very resentful of his role in the family. I believe it was the oldest, and he had a lot of responsibility, like take out the garbage. He actually mentioned, I had so much to do in the family. They made me take out the garbage.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, who could do that? I mean, really.
And then he was almost shot by his brother in some sort of close call accident with a gun. And the family narrative is that he was spared by the hand of God.
Or
He too was bullied at school. He enjoyed killing bees. He kept a count of how many. Okay, these two are, and this is a match made in heaven. Anyway, a voice told him to stop killing the bees eventually, so he did. But he wrote often. He was quite a writer. He kept a diary, and he wrote often of hearing voices. At 17, now, this story was not told at the time it happened. This is his version of what happened a long time later when the topic was important to him, to identify it in his life. He claimed that at 17, he had a near-death experience jumping off a cliff. Never said a word about it when it happened. Later, when near-death experiences figure in importance in the story, which we'll talk about, all of a sudden he had this story about a near-death experience. He became involved with what was referred to in the book, not my words, a subcult of the Mormon Church. They were hyper-paranoid. They were constitutionalists. They were conservatives, so it's a very political movement. Their faith was maintained with fear. In high school, he was very much a sheltered gospel reading nerd. He read the Bible 9 times in high school. He was obsessed with religion, and he read the Book of Mormon 18 times.
wow.
So very, very young.
Fast to read, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Right out of high school, he got sent on a mission. And guess where he went on his mission?
Israel? Jerusalem?
Oh, no. New Jersey. Far more godless people there.
Okay.
New Jersey. And this cracks me up because did you ever see anything from the Book of Mormon, the musical? Oh my God,
No.
it's hilarious. You look on YouTube, they have scenes from it. Anyway, he then returned from the mission and went to BYU, Brigham Young University in Utah. And he preferred Utah because he said it's where his type of man dominated. That's a quote. He got engaged to a girl he met there named Tammy Douglas. And they had their engagement photos taken in the cemetery.
Wow.
So there's a backstory, which I'll get into a little more, but suffice it to say that he got a job. Several members of his family, brothers and cousins, were also working there. They dug graves, they did landscaping, you know, it was like a little family subcontracting job, and he became part of that. At Brigham Young, he wrote a column for the school newspaper called Grave Circumstance. He got married to Tammy March 9th of 1990. And they ended up having 5 children. He became a part-time copy editor for the Standard Examiner in Ogden, Utah, as a newspaper, and a part-time grave digger, cemetery sexton, maintenance man. In 1999, he wrote his first novel, and it's called An Errand for Emma, and this made him a full-time writer. In 2001, he wrote his memoir, which he seems kind of young to be writing a memoir. But anyway, he wrote his memoir, and in this, his sister-in-law read it. She's quite a reader. She read everything he wrote. It's interesting to hear her take on it. But she said he is extremely disrespectful about his mother all the way through this book. The name of the book, One Foot in the Grave.
Wow.
All about his life and working at a cemetery. He did mention, and this is, I think, an important note, he was very annoyed when families would come to the cemetery to bury a loved one and they would be grieving. Their grief annoyed him.
Wow.
He was obsessed with death. In 1993, he revealed for the first time the story of his past near-death experience. He claimed to have seen the other world beyond the veil. He began to claim that he had access to the spirit world. However, nobody mentions him. Nobody remembers him ever mentioning this beforehand. He began claiming that he was having precognitive dreams, that he had a precognitive dream of 9/11, which he didn't mention until after 9/11.
Of
He saw
course. I know someone
himself.
else like that.
He saw himself very similar in life experience to Joseph Smith, who helped,
Of
founder of
course. Yeah.
Mormonism, who had visions and prophecies, et cetera, et cetera. In his memoir, he branded himself as a near-death experiencing pro-end of times Mormon, and people bought his prophecies, which we'll get into, which be sure you're sitting down because it's unbelievable. In 2004, with his wife Tammy, they started their own publishing company called Spring Creek Camp. I guess they had a camp. It was really successful. There was interest in his books. He was always pushing his books. He wrote this whole crazy series of books. And the Mormon Church usually will publish books of merit by members. They would have nothing to do with his books. They felt they were not in keeping with Mormon teaching and were too violent. So he became his own publisher.
Right.
He was
He is violent. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got some violent streaks in his chart. Anyway,
Oh,
go
he
ahead.
does.
Sorry.
Okay. Hyper focused on the end times, and by the end of the 2000s, they had financial problems. Their income for the last year was $2,000 total for the whole year, and they have 5 children.
Oh my God. How did they live on? Were
Well,
they
that
getting
was the
supported by the
income
Mormon
from their
Church?
from their publishing. So they both had part-time jobs. They both worked elsewhere. He was digging graves, remember? No, I don't know how much he made digging graves. But he
Right.
found his audience. People in a sort of a subculture of Mormonism who were worried about the second coming of Christ. And he claimed that he had visions of the end of the world. He became a very popular author and speaker to radical extremist, extreme wing Mormons. In 2013, he prophesied earthquakes, war, and destruction, and he published dozens of books by himself and by others. So they made a go of this publishing company. His were apocalyptic, dystopian. The characters were based on family members, which I'm sure was very popular. He wrote 37 books.
37 books. Wow. Prolific.
Yeah.
I would have. Was he? I never read his stuff. Did you ever try to read any of his books?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Because they're basically about preparing for and then dealing with the apocalypse. I mean, and I never read the Left Behind series either. I saw the movie, the Bible.
Right.
I know I need to see it. Okay. 2017, he wrote Living on the Edge of Heaven, which claimed that he had supernatural visions. So the recurring theme.
Well, can I just say that's a thing in the Mormon Church?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, especially the men are supposed to be like prophets.
Yeah, that's right.
So that sort of is kind of probably a power play. And looking at his chart, he has some real indicators of being delusional. He's got a Neptune square Mercury and a sun. He's got several yods, which means he's sort of dissociated from reality. It can be an indicator of somebody who's on the spectrum if there's other indicators. I'm wondering, like, you said he was hyper focused. Was there any indications? Was there anything else odd about his behavior when he was growing up?
Well, yeah, he was singled out for bullying. He was considered an oddball. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's funny you would say that about him being delusional, because my next sentence was he had a recurring claims of hearing voices.
Yeah.
But his father,
and he as well as Lori both have nodal conjunctions. And that's a whole thing. He has got a nodal conjunction to Chiron and to the moon in Aries, which means, he could be involved with somebody. He liked women who, on some level, he wanted somebody to be sort of a boss, the woman to be the sort of in control. I know that goes against sort of the whole Mormon thing.
Yeah.
But he was
Yeah.
attracted to women who were aggressive and out there and outspoken and kind of masculine and sort of like Lori, who has
Dominant. Yeah. Dominant,
dominating, who
controlling.
has Mars on his moon and his node. So together she really lit up his shadow stuff, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Very intensely. He's got a lot of wounding around that because he's got Chiron on the moon. He's got this Saturn and he's got a yod from Uranus, Pluto to Saturn on one side, and Neptune in conjuncting Saturn on the other. So there is this sort of like there's a sort of back, like he's got two personalities, like a split personality thing going on. Because there's more than one yod, which is unusual. There's also another yod, and there's more planets involved. That means he's got this sort of he wants to be his own person. He wants to be his own boss. He wants, and it's in the ninth, he wants to be sort of in control of his own little guru empire, sort of boss,
Pulp.
king of
Yeah.
the cult. Um, so that might have been the driver. He probably felt like, you know, and then that Neptune square the Mercury it was based on a lot of likely delusions and kind of fantasies that he had. He doesn't really have a very well placed Neptune, meaning he probably wasn't psychic or didn't have these experiences he claimed to have. That isn't Scorpio, so that is an obsession with death. But it's more the negative side because it's all only squaring things. It doesn't have any trines. It's not very activated by anything except for in conjunctions and squares. So that tells you that he was using that stuff to sort of get a foothold in his career,
Right, because
and
he knew that
build
would
off that.
attract, yeah, a certain
Right.
subset. So, for those of us who are not bilingual, could you translate yod?
A yod is called the finger of God. So it's kind of two in conjunctions that have a focal point planet. And an inconjunction is like two aspects of the personality that do not relate to one another at all. So there's like a schism in the personality between certain aspects of the personality and others. So on one hand, he might appear to some people like he's studious, he's very tight and analytical and even, you know, rational on some level. You know what I mean? Very religious and like bookish. But then there's this other side of him that is wants to sort of be the center of everything, who wants to sort of be in control, who wants to be the big man, the emperor, and using those two aspects of sort of bookish side and this delusional religious sort of obsession with death type of personality, this thing, um, it feeds into that. But I would bet you that people saw two very different, he's got a very dissociative sort of chart, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
He's got all this Leo, so he loves to be sort of, the boss, the
Center
king,
of
sort of,
attention.
he
Yeah.
is center of attention. He's also entitled, is trining his Saturn. He's got Mars and Leo trining his moon. So he really wants to be special. And then that moon with a North Node in Chiron is the woman he's with. He's really attracted to a woman being sort of bringing him extra attention, making him even more special, but Chiron means a broken woman who he feels maybe he can control on some level. And together their charts are really weird in that they have really not a good, I'm not surprised they sort of got caught immediately, kind of, because his moon is right on her Mars and his node. So there is there's all shadow stuff here. It's like he wants to be unique and special and carve his own path. And he saw that her aggressiveness and her controlling of her ability to sort of control a room was attractive to him, probably with the South Node on Pluto and Uranus. She's like the exact opposite. I didn't know much about him, but I did see his wife, who looked very much like a, you know, wallflower type of character, which I would think he probably liked the aspect where he could outshine her. But Lori represented this sort of shiny object that could
Mhm. Yeah.
empower him probably and make him more, the man he wishes he could be,
Yeah.
that he wasn't totally. He's also got all this mutability, so he kind of goes along with things in a certain way
Yeah.
too.
There's this enormous uncertainty and debate at the end of all of this by the pundits. Like, who was crazier? Who was driving the vehicle of this criminality? Who was the
I think she
leader
was.
and who was the follower? And
I think she was the
it
leader.
it depends.
She's
I
way more
think
cardinal.
it
I think she's
depends.
definitely. No, I would
Well,
I would put money.
we haven't gotten into the
All I
religious
can say is
stuff.
I would put money on that he saw her as a vehicle for his own, making him feel more special. Um, her sort of, he probably felt like she's powerful and she's gonna focus everybody's attention on him and her, and he's finally gonna get the recognition he deserves. But they have all kinds of squares, and he's he can be very stubborn with all this Leo and Aries, but he's not really a leader so much. And he's not really a boss. He wants to be a boss, and that's the in conjunction, but he's not really a boss. And he's got the North Node on the moon, which means there's a lot of fear on some level of being, the boss and being the one who's in control. So she has no problem with that.
Oh,
Like,
she has no
that's
problem. That's
all
right.
about
Yeah,
her. That's how she is.
always.
So I think he was probably attracted to that in her and felt like through her he could become more
Of what he
like
was.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I bet
Well,
you she was the one driving it.
just wait because this gets
Okay.
better and better. So this
Okay.
is a quote from him. My torn veil, referring to the near-death experience, my torn veil allows information to be downloaded into my brain from the other side. The scenes I am shown are real events that will happen. He was a regular contributor to a forum, a Mormon forum called Another Voice of Warning. In 2018, he began publishing the work of Julie Rowe. Now, she was pivotal in driving his direction from here on out. She was the clairvoyant who was on the Other Voice of Warning, an apocalyptic author. She predicted end times. She claimed a connection to the spirit world. This should beginning to sound familiar, right? She and Chad were very popular with
Can I ask
Mormon.
a question? Do you
Yeah,
think that maybe he borrowed a lot of his stuff from
yeah,
her?
yeah, yeah.
Because
I
that I
think
would bet he did,
he had
looking at his chart.
the germ of it, the start of it, and listening to her gave him fleshed it out and gave him permission. That's the feeling I got. They were very popular with Mormon preppers. She did energy work, and she was considered the expert about this idea that he glommed right onto, that there is a group of Mormon elect who will be saved at the end of the apocalyptic times, that they're going to form tent cities to wait out the end times. So Suzanne Freeman is another one of his authors through his publishing company, and she quit the publishing company because she felt that he was too radicalized and getting worse by the day, that he deviated from Mormon teachings, and she thought that he was dangerous. So she was astute. Not everybody got that. In 2015, he claimed a voice told him to move to what's referred
Was that
to.
the woman? Wait, was that the woman who was the psychic, who was the energy healer, who thought that she was dangerous?
No,
I didn't think so.
no.
Yeah,
Julie Rowe gave him, kind of matured his ideas and gave him permission and entree into a larger audience because she was quite popular. So he sort of
I
got
see.
absorbed into that popularity. This Suzanne Freeman wrote books that were published by his company, but she bailed out because she thought he was getting crazier. So he claims a voice told him to move to what's called Prepper Haven. It's a town called Rexburg in Idaho that is 80+% Mormon population. Tammy, the wife, she didn't want to go. She had a job, she was settled, she liked where they were living, but he browbeat her into it. There's a whole narrative in the book about them going house hunting, and somebody else who didn't want them to move was his brother Matt and his wife Heather. Matt and Heather lived in Rexburg, and they didn't want Chad anywhere near them, and so he moved in down the street.
Why didn't they want him anywhere near them? Did they think he was
crazy.
nuts?
Yeah, they thought he was nuts.
Thought he was nuts. He is not. I mean, his chart, he could go that direction for sure.
They moved to Rexburg to get away from Utah, to get away from his family, to get away from that influence. Right. So Rexburg's built, get this, it's built to copy the appearance of Salt Lake City. The street layout, the temple there, it's all made to look like Salt Lake City, because there's a belief with these extremists who live there that Rexburg will become the headquarters of the Mormon Church if Salt Lake City is gone in the apocalypse.
Sure. Okay.
So that's Chad. And now we come to Chad and Lori meet up. And we kind of talked a little bit about that when we talked about Lori, but we're going to pick up where we left off because, you know, the deadly duo are now together.
Can I ask you one question about Chad before we go for it? So the family didn't want him to live there because they felt like he was unstable, right?
So this is one brother and sister-in-law who had put distance between themselves and the whole family. And they thought he was just a really unstable member of the family, did not want him moving close. And they were still very devout, practicing Mormons, but they just thought this branch of the family was crazy. They wanted nothing.
Okay, that makes sense. He does have a nodal conjunction to the moon.
But there's so much disrespect and misogyny in the family that the sister-in-law, Heather, really didn't want to deal with her in-laws.
I don't blame her.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in 2015, Lori read that series that Chad wrote called Standing in Holy Places, and she got real radical in her beliefs and developed an interest in near-death experiences. Now, this is where the religiosity starts coming into it. She's getting odder with religion. She heard the podcast Preparing a People, and the one that Chad was on with Julie Rowe, and she was really into him. She thought this guy's got it all figured out. So she met up with him in 2018, and he immediately started to groom her. They went to the book event. She went with a friend called Melanie Gibb, who also becomes part of the narrative of the crimes, and Zulema, who marries her brother. So these three women go together to meet this great author who's crazy.
Right.
And they described the meeting of Chad and Lori as they immediately started flirting. It was really uncomfortable. And they got, as I put it, they got to it right away.
Right.
And it really made everybody uncomfortable. Public displays, you know.
Especially because he was married already, right?
Oh,
and so was she, wasn't she?
Yes, they were both married.
Right.
He told her that they had been married for many lives, many past lives.
Not true, but
anyway. He called her an exalted goddess. And
she loved that.
Together, they did one of these Preparing a People podcasts, an episode of it in December. Called Time to Warrior Up. And that was one of his phrases, warrior up. These people crack me up. They believed that they were part of this special group Julie Rowe talked about, the Mormon elite. They believed there were 144,000 of them in the world.
That's how it's supposed to be. 144,000 people are left or taken or something like that, right?
Yes,
in the rapture.
These are the chosen. And their job will be to lead the righteous at the end times. He was a prophet, he claimed, and he claimed that he was born into the presidency of his church. That they both
whatever that
had,
means.
yeah, I know. They both had paranormal gifts, and he had a rating system. Remember, I said rating systems become important. Her father rated everybody 95%.
Oh, right.
Remember that?
That's
so
right.
This is a little thing that maybe resonated for her about him. He rated people with numbers about how devout they were, how close to prophets they were, blah blah blah. But he would culminate his rating system in, were they dark or were they light? And if they were dark, they needed to be eliminated. They called themselves the Church of the Firstborn, and they included Melanie Gibb, her friend, Zulimia, whatever her name was, who was going to be her sister-in-law eventually, her brother, Alex Cox, her nephew, well, actually not her nephew, her nephew's wife. Her nephew's name was Brandon Boudreau, and Brandon's wife went over the deep end. And
okay, wait. So these are people that are related to him. How?
These are people who joined his church, the Church of the Firstborn.
Okay, it's so hard because there's so many people in this story.
It's insane. But they do keep rearing their ugly heads. So you got this core group of women.
So he had this little cult around him, basically.
Well, she had a cult. He had a cult. They joined.
They merged.
Yeah,
okay, right.
Yeah. So she had Melanie Gibb, Melanie Boudreau, her niece, and Zulimia, her soon-to-be sister-in-law, and
Zulimia.
Alex. I know her brother Alex, and Lori and her friend Melanie Gibb started doing their own podcast. So we're a little bit like them. Started doing their own podcast called Feel the Fire.
Feel the Fire. Okay.
Feel the Fire. So this gets great. The narrative that he tells is really unbelievable. So we're with Tad rating people as dark or light.
Okay.
So now we're going to talk about what they believed, because I had to put it in a little separate section, and then we'll get back a little bit more to Tad, but what they believed. He said they've been married in many past lives, and reincarnation is not a belief of the Mormon Church.
I know that, yeah.
He called each of these lives a probation. So he referred to our many probations together.
What does that mean, a probation?
That's just the word he used for past life. It's his own choice.
What does that mean? What does that mean, though?
Well, there's no explanation. He's giving random terminology. Special. He's trying to sound special. So if you had a past life,
it doesn't make sense. That doesn't even make sense.
He's not.
Okay, that's again delusional. I don't understand why you would call it a probation. Why? That implies you did something wrong and you're in limbo or getting. I don't know. Whatever. Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, he had 31 probations. He was 31, and many on different planets. He told Lori she had 21 with 5 of them on Earth with Chad in the past.
Nice.
He claimed that he was the reincarnation of James the Lesser from the Bible, and possibly there's debate within Christianity in general. This is just not him, but in Christianity in general, was James the Lesser maybe the brother or the cousin of Jesus? So he's Jesus adjacent. That's what he's trying to get at. Okay. And that he was married in a past life when he was James, and her name at that life was Elena, and they talk quite extensively about I can't say it with a straight face. Loin fire. Oh, so gross. So, in another past life, Lori.
Let's just say one thing here. No offense to the Mormons, but it did start as a sex cult, and there is that undercurrent there with the part of the religion, procreating as many children as you possibly can. So you can go to this planet and solar system and run your own solar system. You can sit there and procreate a bunch of spirit babies, that whole
And if
thing.
you're
It's
a
a lot
woman,
about procreation.
you have to marry a man who has a certain level of commitment. There's a term, I don't know if it's a priesthood or what it is, but he has to be a certain level of Mormon man. And if you marry him for time and eternity, it has to be a special ceremony. Then you get to go to heaven in the next life. You are on the planet with him. But if you don't, if you're single, like somebody I know who's Mormon and is single in her 40s and her family is losing its mind about it. This is why they research genealogy, because they go back into family history
Right. And they
and they
baptize people.
baptize all those
Right.
people so they can
Right.
join them on their planet. Okay, we
Okay.
digress.
Nice. A little
So
bit like Scientology. Okay.
yeah, there really are some similarities.
Mhm.
In another life, he said Lori was Mary French, who was the great grandmother of Joseph Smith.
Oh, okay. Well,
Okay.
that's nice.
Also, in another life, a different other life, she was the wife of the angel Moroni. He was the
Oh.
last
So
Nephite.
she was an angel too.
Well, not he's
No.
a prophet angel. It's he's a
I
spirit when
see.
he Moroni was the last Nephite prophet, and he's the one who presented Joseph Smith with the golden plates.
Right, the golden tablets.
Yeah.
My
Okay.
question here is, so he was always a boy and she was always a girl in every lifetime, is what he's saying too, right?
Well, just the ones he elucidates. Who knows, in the past.
Okay.
They were only together in 5 lives.
Oh, okay. Out of the 31
Yeah.
probation or
And
whatever.
he was on other planets as well.
Right.
So who
I
knows?
mean, okay. I mean, all right. I mean, I find it always very ridiculous when people get specific with stuff like that, especially unless it's your own hypnotherapeutic thing. That seems a bit insane to me. But
Well, I
anyway,
don't see why you can't be the same gender life after life after life. I personally was a scullery maid in my past lives. So
well, you can be, but it doesn't usually happen that
no,
every
of course
lifetime
not.
is the same gender. Yeah.
No, but
That would
I'm
be
loving the fact that
pointless.
I'm actually making you speechless here. This is great stuff. So anyway, their goal, he said, was to reach exaltation, which was the highest level of salvation in the celestial kingdom. He would be a god and they would live as a family, and they would be that family, all of the people that populated their planet would become gods, create worlds, and make spirit children. He had the scoring system that rated everyone light with Jesus, dark with Satan. And they held what they called castings, like casting out, driving out demons. They had castings where they would
So
drive
instead
out.
of exorcism, they used casting because
Right.
it was his own word he made up.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And if evil spirits stayed in a person, the person eventually would be dark, and would become a zombie and would be required to be killed. So this is the lead up to their crimes. We're getting there,
right. So that's convenient. People you
Yeah.
don't like can become
I don't know.
demonic.
Have
So
you been
they're
out
not
in the sun
people.
lately? You're looking a little dark to me, Denise. I don't know.
I mean, that's very convenient. Yeah.
So
Again, fits his delusional
yeah.
personality structure.
So you asked about their little followers. Lori had her own little group of 7 women that they called themselves the Gatherers, and they would meet on Zoom to do castings. Is that what we have scheduled for later? Or we're going to do a casting?
Wow. So to me, this is one of the most problematic things about Christianity in general, but certainly this version of whatever this is, I don't even know. Is this whole kind of bifurcation thing where people are basically evil and there's demons and there's the devil and we're original sin. And, that's just not true. How does it even make sense, in my opinion, if God is omnipotent and can see everything in his love? How does he allow demons to possess people? And How does he even allow there to be a Satan who's his counterpoint? I mean, doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense. But anyway,
Well, as far as I'm concerned, these are rhetorical questions. I mean,
I know, right?
you
I
know.
mean, it just, if you really think about it for more than half a second, it really
Mhm.
falls apart.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, it gets better. They had a vibe scale, and you either
A vibe
rated
scale?
high,
A vibe
a
scale.
vibe
Oh, that's
scale, because
very surfer now.
they're
Throw that in there, little
14. They're
surfer
14.
thing.
Yeah.
Gonna, okay.
So if you rate high on the vibe scale, then you're called translated and you have special powers. So,
Okay.
every cult has its own lingo. And this is where we're
Sure.
going here. They believe they could teleport. They could travel through portals and be together spiritually when physically apart, and they would have teleportation sex.
Of course. Of course.
And
That's what it's all
they
about.
could receive revelations and travel to other realms. And Chad claimed that let me see if I can read this. Oh, he's guided by angels and given hidden truths, and that the end of the world will be on July 22nd, 2026.
Oh, that's next year. Wow.
Yeah, I know. I looked at the
It's coming
calendar.
up. Coming
Yeah.
up.
Lori claimed a direct communion with God and with Jesus. She talked to Jesus all the time, like not just praying, but he'd answer back,
Did she
And
call up on the phone, or how did she reach him? Cell
no,
phone or?
I like he whispered in her ear, sweet
Oh,
nothings.
okay. Right.
And she had visionary powers. Now, I in this story, in this chronological timeline, I see Lori becoming one of two things: either truly more delusional, or
Power.
absorbing all the nonsense from Chad to go along with him. However, it'll be interesting when you hear what people around her had to say. So
You know
she
what?
said,
Let me just say
yeah,
one thing.
sure.
I think she probably was attracted to the fact that he had come up with this system of control. And that's what she was attracted to. And being able to put people in their place, she could put herself atop everybody else. So whether she really believes all that, maybe she did because she's wanted to, but she glommed onto it for that reason in her
Made her feel
personality.
special and elite.
Yes.
And yeah. So she said that she was an exalted being, could not be held responsible for any of her actions on earth.
Of course not, right?
She told her friend Melanie Gibb that she and Chad were sealed. That's a Mormon binding ceremony that marries them for eternity.
Spiritually, right? Mm-hmm.
But they couldn't divorce their spouses because of information they'd been given from the other side of the veil. Now, this is before the spouses
inconvenient.
died.
That's
How convenient. Yes.
Yeah, it's very convenient. Yes.
Chad and Tammy were sealed in the church when they got married. And if Chad was now with Lori, it would be polygamy.
Right.
And I will just drop this little hint about the future. There's some speculation. Did Tammy die right after she freaked out when he suggested polygamy? We'll get to that.
Probably.
So they told people they weren't having an affair. They were
married.
They were on a crucial mission.
Right. Of course. It's really important that you cast out all the demons and make sure that everybody's got the light, and decide yourself who's good and who's bad, and then kill the ones that are bad, because that's your job.
Chad mentioned to people that Tammy may die in a car crash. Now, I want to go back to.
Wow, that's right. I remember hearing that. That was quite convenient. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that the plan? Did it fail because he didn't know how to cut the brake properly?
That's not what happened to her, but that's
right.
The story that he wanted to put forward.
Right. Oh, because that was his premonition.
Yeah, he's prophetic.
Right, that's right.
So August of 2019, Lori and her children and her brother Alex, lovely couple, they moved to Rexburg, Salt Lake City of Utah, of Idaho. Right. And in September, so a month later, her daughter Tylee disappeared. Wow. And then shortly thereafter, within a couple of weeks, JJ disappeared. Right. And in October, some guy in a mask took a pot shot with a gun at Tammy in her driveway, missed, And a few days later, she was found dead at the age of 49 in bed, went to bed that night, woke up dead.
Poisoned.
And she'd been in excellent health. Oh, no, it gets better than that.
Okay.
She had seemed to her friends leading up to her death, she had seemed preoccupied, not unwell, just like something was on her mind. And
Something
this
was
is
wrong. Right.
where, in retrospect, people are asking, did he suggest polygamy? And she freaked out, and so she had to get sick, you know. There was no autopsy. She was
Of
buried
course
very,
not.
very quickly. He got $430,000 in insurance. Now, she got $450,000 in insurance when her daughter died. Well,
Wow.
actually, no. When her ex-husband died, she
I
got
thought that was $350,000.
450,000
Okay.
insurance settlement left to the daughter, and Lori was in charge of it. Now at almost a $500,000, and now he gets
Right.
just under $500,000, 430,000 in life insurance because of his wife dying. At her funeral, okay, this is not funny. I shouldn't laugh. At her funeral, Charles told his brother that he'd met a wonderful woman who he had been prophesied that he would be with, that they were getting married, and this is at his wife's funeral. And he says
Wow.
to the brother, "Don't tell mom and dad."
Wow.
2 weeks later, they were secretly married on the beach in Hawaii,
In Hawaii, right?
November
Where the
5th, 2019. His children found out after the fact. They were shocked. Then Lori and Chad went on to rent a place, a fancy townhouse type of place in a planned community in Hawaii. That on the form, to fill in to rent, they wrote no children. Her friend Melanie Gibb at this point is still, on the mainland. I believe she was in Arizona, I think.
Was this 2015 you said that they got married?
2019.
2019. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. Right before
So
the pandemic.
Melanie is still is not. Maybe she's in Idaho. I don't remember. It really doesn't matter all that much. She had a conversation with Lori, who was in Hawaii, and there was a big problem, which we'll get to. Lori had lied about where JJ was. The police had
Right.
come, and she said, "Well, he's with my friend Melanie." I believe she said Arizona. And Melanie
Right.
called and
That's
said,
right.
"What are you talking about? Why are you lying and putting me in the middle of something bizarre with the
Right.
police?" And then Melanie pressured her and said, "Where is JJ?" And Lori was quite cavalier. There's a whole conversation in the book that's unbelievable, and I opted to not copy it. This is long enough, but it really is revelatory. Now,
Wow.
why did the police come? Why would they even bother, right? So what happened was JJ, remember, is the grandnephew, and they adopted him.
Right.
Charles
That's right.
and
Right. That's right. And he was
Lori adopted
autistic,
him.
right?
He
Yeah.
was autistic. His real biological grandmother had always been close to him. She and her husband just were too old to take on a child who had special needs, right? So when a family member was willing to adopt him and take care of him, they were delighted.
But
So
then,
they're in a different state, and they haven't
right.
heard from JJ. He would do Zoom calls on his iPad all the time. He was very
Right.
close to them. All of a sudden, nothing.
He drops off the map. Right.
Yeah, they had one last conversation with him that was cut short by Lori, and then they never heard from him again. So they called the police and asked them to do a welfare check. And Lori was still at that time in Rexburg. This is before the Hawaii wedding, but it was only a matter of a week or two before the Hawaii wedding. So towards the late fall of 2019, the police go to the house, and there's a whole conversation with Lori. And at first she says, "Well, where's JJ? He's with his grandmother."
Wow.
His grandmother is the one who requested the welfare check,
Right.
So
wow.
it's a big
They knew something was wrong.
Yeah. So then she lied and said, "Oh, well, wait, he was with her, but now he's with my friend Melanie in Arizona."
Wow.
And the cops are like, "There's something fishy going on here."
Yeah,
And
that's pretty
Melanie is
clear.
all mad and suspicious. And what did the cops do? These are the Rexburg cops. They dug up Tammy, and they did. They looked at her and they looked at him. They knew they were together dating, and they looked at the two of them and they thought something stinks
Something's wrong.
here. Yeah, there was a
Right.
good investigator, right? And so they dug Tammy up and they did an autopsy in early December, and it was done in secret. Nobody knew that that's what they'd done, and they got
Wow.
results. Anyway, her niece, Melanie Boudreau, remember I said Brandon and Melanie? Okay. Melanie Boudreau, who was a part of her little gatherers group, was in a state. She was all worked up. Her husband, Brandon, had somebody shoot at him while he was driving home from work.
Wow.
And we'll talk a little bit more about it later, but he recognized the car as Tylee's car. It was a Jeep. It was the car they let the teenage girl drive, Tylee, who disappeared.
So it was her brother then?
It was Alex in the car,
Yeah.
probably, yeah.
Mhm.
So Melanie got arrested at her parents' house because she did not have custody, and she kidnapped her children and took them to her parents' house, wouldn't let Brandon, her, in the process of being an ex,
Right.
have. And so there was this custody dispute going on. So they just took a pot shot at him. And
Wow.
when she went to fight with him about the custody, Alex was in the car waiting for her.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's a whole little
Right,
circle of
right.
guilt going on. So December
Huh.
12th, shortly after this pot shot, 2019, Alex
Okay.
dies suddenly.
Wow.
And this is where questions are arising about Joe Ryan's death.
Real body count now. Okay.
Okay, so Alex dies suddenly, and it ostensibly looks like a natural death. And then they do an autopsy, and they discover that he did die of massive pulmonary emboli. He had been perfectly fine. This is exactly what happened to Joe Ryan.
Wow.
So now people are beginning to think, oh, what drug?
What kind of poison?
What? Yeah. And Zulema, the wife, starts blaming a cheap Mexican drug that he was taking.
Oh, there you go.
Red flag, right? So they later on, this is just an aside, not related to Alex's death and not related to Joe's death, but maybe related to Tylee and JJ. Alex, after the kids disappeared, gave his car to Colby. This is Lori's older son, her first son. And his uncle Alex gives him the car. And later the cops got their hands on the car and tested it, and it tested positive for blood.
Wow.
So that's their belief system. That's CAD in a nutshell. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything juicy. I missed a little. Oh, I actually did miss a little bit. That's really great. So before the kids disappeared,
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
One of the things I just looked up was what kind of drugs could cause a pulmonary embolism. Is that what they died of?
Yeah. Clotting factor blood? Drugs?
Nicotine. Like if you took a bunch of nicotine, like I think at one time, like if you injected someone with nicotine.
Wow.
You could give them a
wow. And there's liquid nicotine.
They could have injected them with liquid nicotine. Something like that. I don't know. There's other things in there, but anyway, that just kind of struck me as that'd be easy to get.
Well, if you remember, I was describing the course of the life of Chad Vallow, and I mean Chad Vallow. I can't keep track.
Or force them to drink it.
Daybell,
Yeah.
And they had paired up. He paired up with Lori. And they began this craziness. That's why we had to make a little side trip down all the stuff that they believed. So they're together, and Charles Vallow is still alive, and they believe that Charles Vallow is possessed. He's now possessed by evil spirits. He's no longer Charles Vallow. He's Ned Schneider.
Who's Ned Schneider?
They made this name up. It's just a random name. He's possessed by evil. He's dark. He's a zombie. He's evil inside. And to rescue his spirit, they have to kill his body. Right.
Of course, right.
So then we get the cop body cam video on YouTube that shows poor Charles Vallow coming to the house, and all his stuff is gone, and his car is gone, and his children are missing, and his wife is batshit crazy, and he knows it. He's heard his crazy brother-in-law telling him, "Your name is not Charles Vallow, it's Ned Schneider."
But who's Charles Vallow now? Like, I can't even remember.
Charles Vallow is her husband who got shot in the face by Alex.
I thought he was already dead at this point.
Well, no, I told you we're going back. We had to make a little side trip. We're going back. It's impossible to tell this story in a really logical, chronological way and include all the delusion. It's so complicated. So you've got her still married to Charles Vallow, but fooling around with Chad. Tammy is still alive.
Oh, I see. That makes okay. Now I got it.
Alive. Okay. This is like the mid to late summer of 2019. This is before it all hits the fan.
Didn't she just marry? Okay, so she kills him off and then marries.
That's correct. This is leading up to the Hawaii wedding and the disappearance of the children.
I see. Okay.
Charles Vallow must die. He's Ned Schneider. He's a zombie. He's got to die.
Course.
And so she has moved everything out of the house, and the children are no longer around. There's no stuff in the house. His car is missing, and he's concerned. And he told the cops,
I think so.
I don't know what's wrong. I mean, when you see this poor guy talking about it, your heart goes out to him, because he says, I don't know what's wrong. There's something terribly, terribly wrong with her. She has lost her mind. She calls me by a different name. She calls me Ned Schneider, and the cops are clueless. The cop says, no, wait a minute. Now, who's Ned Schneider?
Right. Like, who is Ned Schneider? Yeah, that's weird.
Oh, and she'd also taken $35,000 out of the bank. They had a joint bank account, and she took all this money out of the bank. And she accused Charles of using money to pay for sex workers and give money to other women. So late in 2019, remember I said she went into a facility. They wanted to put her in a facility, and she said, no, I'll go, you can test me and you'll see I'm perfectly fine. And she lasted for a couple of hours, and then she took off. It was voluntary. She didn't have to stay.
That's why she did it that way. She knew she could get out of it.
Yeah. And she stayed with some friends, and the friends said she looked like a completely different person. I wondered, was she on something? She talked crazy. She said that Tylee was dark and a zombie. She predicted that JJ would die. She was very divergent from conventional Mormon beliefs, and her friend said, I worried she'd had a psychotic break. Lori Gray gave the friends new names based on what their names had been in past lives. And she told her friend Zulema that she could control the weather, that Lori could control the weather, that she traveled through portals. That then she took Tylee with her and left JJ with Charles. And she got her little group of gatherers to do a casting on Charles. And then she urged her niece, she's in the background whispering into her niece Melanie's ear and telling her, leave Brandon, he's dark, and then Brandon gets a pot shot at him. So Chad, for several years, had been telling people in Rexburg, don't be surprised if you hear that Tammy has died in a car accident. A voice told me that this was going to happen. And of course, we talked about how his brother and sister-in-law were upset. So now we come to what happened to Charles Vallow. I mean, we know he was shot, but the circumstances.
Can I ask another question? So did he start talking about her dying in the car crash after he met Lori? Or was it also before that?
Before, yeah.
Okay, so he'd always said that she was going to die in a car crash. So
She
he must have
heard
been
him.
unhappy before.
She
Huh?
2015. She read his books and heard him on a podcast. 2015, he moved with Tammy to Rexburg. They had not met yet. They didn't meet till 2018 at that book.
So he started saying this, that his wife was going to die in a car crash years before he even met.
Yes. Yes.
So he must have wanted to get rid of her
That's right. Yeah.
before that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I don't know if you want to continue with the beginning of the murders.
Good Lord. How far are we into this now? This is just, I mean, it's so crazy.
I don't know how you mean how long we've been recording.
I think an hour. Yeah.
Yeah, an hour. We probably could quit and then start up again with the murders afterwards. This is a complicated case. This is not some
Making my head spin. No wonder you
know.
talked about having to do it over multiple different things, because this is really insane.
I did originally have over 150 pages of just an outline.
Oh my God. Are you serious?
I read a book. I listened to probably 10 hours of interviews, and then I did research online. Yeah.
Wow.
Because how could you keep track? It's almost impossible to keep
There's
track.
so many people involved in this too.
There were days
so
when I
insane.
felt like I was in despair trying to keep track of what was going on. I felt so guilty. You know, you're waiting and waiting and waiting.
Oh, no,
and
I was fine. Don't worry about it. Don't feel guilty. It's fine.
Well, I don't
Whatever it
anymore.
got done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever it happens is the way I look at it. But that is
So here we are 2
really
hours
insane.
into it, and we haven't even hit the murders yet.
Wow.
I mean, we've acknowledged people died, but there's more to it than that. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I think both of them, looking at their charts, have mental health problems. I mean, you know, to begin with, right? I mean, besides her needing to be in control, him being, they're both mentally ill, but it seems like that sort of intersection where they had all these nodal conjunctions, their shadow stuff just went boing and just took off. And like the worst of both of them came out.
Well, there's a word for that, folie à deux.
Folie à deux.
And it's
yes.
a madness of two. And I think that may very well be what we're looking at here.
Yes.
Some of the research that I read was by Dr. Stephen Hassan, who did The Cult of Trump. He's considered the expert on cult mind control and how to get somebody out of a cult. And he talked quite a bit about it. It's pretty interesting what he had to say. We'll get to it. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Well, all right. Well, thanks for watching the second installment of this very long, epic, bizarre, twisty tale.
And I'm going to do cards, but I'm not going to do them right away. There's too much.
No, we'll do them at the end.
Yeah,
we'll get closer to the end. And I've been looking at some of the dates you've been throwing in to see the progression of what's been going on. The time frame when she really starts to seem like she's becoming psychotic. There are some more pressure on her chart. There's more pressure on her chart. She is probably starting to lose it more.
Yeah, she absolutely made like some sort of personality shift break, but she was ripe for it. I mean, nature versus nurture, right? Yeah.
Yeah, she was looking for that.
Yeah.
She glommed onto his stuff, and she wanted to be in that crazy world where she was exalted and in control. But then she lost control. You know, it sounds like she completely lost her mind. But, you know, the other thing is, no matter how down a rabbit hole you get, crossing lines like where you kill people, there's something, you know, that's beyond like just, you know, a normal kind of losing yourself kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? You have to have something very seriously wrong with you to kill your children. I mean, that is really the sickest thing I can think of, probably.
You said something earlier that we're going to bring up, we're going to talk about. You mentioned it looked like she had other people do her dirty work.
Yes.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah, so that's how she could do it. I guess she could detach from it and let other people do it for her.
Yeah.
Because it was convenient. Yeah.
You'll find that she never held a weapon.
Right. She never pulled the trigger.
That's right. She never physically, but she had
control,
people who were willing
who
to
she
do
could
it for her.
control.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And in that way, she's more the cult leader in some ways than even Chad Daybell.
This
You
is
know,
why it's so confusing because they're both nuts. It's
they're
hard to
both
decide
nuts
who's nuttier. Yeah.
and they fit together in this perfect,
Yeah.
insane
Yeah.
thing, where they both kind of egged each other on into
Yeah.
this really shadow, dark place. Oy vey. Uh, they didn't kill his kids though, right? I mean, he didn't want his children killed.
No, they didn't kill his children, but I think it's important to remember his children were not dependent. I think he had one child who was still like maybe a high school senior or something, but old enough to be fairly independent. And I wonder why it didn't occur to him he could have made some money off it.
Well, to me, that indicates that there is a difference psychologically too between the two of them. She's more, I mean,
Homicidal. Yeah.
she's more homicidal than him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got that more of that grandiosity.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the chart indicates that she's more willing to throw people away and just has less even empathy than he does, which is a terrifying thought. But
Oh, she has absolutely no empathy.
she has no empathy. She's a psychopath for sure.
We'll talk about her lack of empathy when we talk about the little boy.
Okay, that
Yeah.
sounds good.
Yeah. So
All
stay
right,
tuned. There's
so
more to
stay
come.
tuned for
Yeah.
episode 3. I don't know how many episodes there'll be on this, but probably about 5. I have a feeling.
Oh, I don't know. I feel like I've gone to purgatory and my punishment is Lori Vallow. It's just
Yeah,
endless insanity. I keep saying to my husband, listen to this. And I thought I'd followed the story. I wasn't
right.
obsessive about it. I knew that there were going to be a series of trials, and I figured I'll wait till they're over. And then, but then we started talking and you wanted to do it. It just so happens that the very last trial just happened within the last month. She was sentenced.
Yeah, that's interesting too that we got the timing that we ended up
it is. It
here.
really is.
Yeah.
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 All right. And then everybody has to guess guilty or not guilty. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we already know the answer to that, right?
I think we do. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty clear.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us on Psychics and Psychos. This is episode 2 on the 2nd season. And we'll be back with more on this story. This is a very elaborate, bizarre
never-ending story.
The never-ending story. Yeah, I'm
Thanks,
sure that
Denise.
Lori Vallow will get married a few more times while she's in prison to various other men. My prediction.
Oh,
at least 3 or 4 more times. That's
I don't think you have to be a psychic for that.
No, you don't.
Maybe she'll be on an episode of Love After Lockup.
Probably.
It would have to be. There's an alternative
I've never
show,
seen it,
Love During Lockup. So it'll have.
There you go. Love During Lockup. There you go. Yeah. All right,
Thank you,
everyone.
everybody.
Thanks for joining. All right. Take care, everyone. Have a good week.